Welcome back to the Unfrazzled Entrepreneur Podcast. I hope you're having a blessed day. My name is Steven, and I'm here with a good friend and co-host, Ryan Rieger. Ryan, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Feeling frazzled today?
Yeah, of course. So, could you hear it in my response?
No, not at all.
Last episode, we talked about a success path for becoming an unfrazzled entrepreneur. If you're interested in that episode, it'll be in the description. This episode, I want to follow up with something that you said, and you kind of made a point of it, and it's hiring, and a little bit more specifically on hiring a VA. So I think the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is a VA?
Yeah, virtual assistant. It's a remote worker. It's somebody, ours are, the ones I work with are typically in the Philippines for various reasons that we'll probably talk about on another episode, I would bet. But they're just folks that work for you in your business. They're not in a physical location, in your physical location. They can be literally anywhere in the world and can be part of your business.
When you hear people saying outsourcing, do you think they're actually saying they're looking for a VA, a virtual assistant?
That's where my mind immediately goes. I don't know if everybody else says outsourcing. Most of these people in the Amazon space that I'm very familiar with, and you say word outsourcing, it typically does mean a virtual assistant. It doesn't have to be. There's virtual assistants here in the US. There are, you can outsource to a piece of software. Software can cover a lot of things, that you might be doing. And it's just all about looking at your business and what are you doing that you shouldn't be doing. And it could be a software, it could be a person that you bring on to do that work for you, so you're freed up to do those things in your business that only you can do.
I think it is interesting when I'm having conversations with people that talk about outsourcing. I think you nailed it. My mind immediately goes to a virtual assistant, but that's not necessarily, because I was just talking to the church and they said they're going to start outsourcing, but they're just outsourcing like painting and physical labor stuff. And it's just very interesting. I think the term outsource is used, but I just want to see from your perspective, how is that a catch-all word, or do most people assume?
It also could be a third-party company that does something that may not have to be in one VA, but it could be a whole company that does, let's say social media for you, or a company that, there's so many different things in your business, but there's companies for everything. But so it could be a person, it could be a software, it could be a whole company that you're outsourcing something to.
I reached out to my network. I did a little bit of research, just seeing the fears that people have that's preventing them from quote unquote outsourcing. In this case, I really wanted to talk about hiring a VA. I'm going to go over the list quickly that I put together, but I'm going to ask you some questions to get a little bit more clarity and depth on each one of these fears. So I'm actually going to read them off here. Self-doubt, that's number one. Number two is the fear of someone that you're going to be hiring messing something up in your business that cannot be fixed. Number three is cost. Number four was security. Number five was the quality of work. Number six was the communication, just like the language barrier. Number seven is the time zone, because like you mentioned, I think when we think outsourcing, we immediately jump to VAs. VAs for us are normally either in India, in the Philippines, in another country, and the time zones are mostly 24-hour or 12-hour difference from us. Number eight is loss of connection with the VA. Number nine is what type of VA to hire, more like the job title that you'll be looking for when you're hiring. Number 10 is they don't know where to even go to hire a VA. I have hired VAs in the past, but on this call, I want to play the role of a frazzled entrepreneur. That shouldn't be too hard because that's my current state, but a frazzled entrepreneur that's never hired or never done any outsourcing, and definitely never hired a VA. And this is a whole new concept to me. So if that's the role that I'm playing, and the first fear is this self-doubt, I have imposter syndrome at time, especially when you asked me to do presentations and I was doing them virtually, then actually physically going and talking on stage. It just felt like I shouldn't be here. Why are these people listening to me? Inner voice of self-doubt. Yeah. So if I have self-doubt, how can I overcome that fear when hiring a VA? And the fear of they might find out that I am an imposter and I don't really know everything, or most of what's going on in my business is like I'm learning as this plane is flying, I'm building it.
Right. I don't think they care. They just want a job. If you're willing to pay them, they don't care what you do, who you are. I'll take that back. They
it's not to the extreme, but it's definitely not in your own head. I think you build it up to this extreme.
Yeah,
and it's
they
not.
just want a job. They don't know, they don't care if you've been doing this for 2 days or 2 years. If you will have a job, they're willing to do it, and they are excited about working for you. They want to please you. They want to go above and beyond. And this, when I say this, I'm also, typically I'm talking about the VAs that we have in my organization, and and we'll get to, again, I'll probably get to this on, we could have a whole episode on the Philippines and why they're such good workers. But they just, they want to do a good job for you. They don't care if you're brand new. And so that doesn't matter. Get over that. And the fact that you have imposter syndrome, yeah, we all deal with that. All you need to know is just a little bit more than the people that you're teaching. You're going to be growing. You're going to be evolving your business. You're always going to be learning. Don't wait until you feel like the expert to get started. Don't wait till you feel like you're the expert to make a move and take action in your business, because you may never really feel like that. You just are constant. We're always reading, learning.
That's not reassuring from being this frazzled person.
Yeah, no, you just do it. You do it, you help the people. And you know what you do is when you start helping some people, you get some confidence, because then you'll be like, oh, I can help that person. And that'll give you the boost of confidence that you need to just keep going. But as far as the VA, they don't care.
The movie Catch Me If You Can, that was the same thing. They were asking him, how could you be a doctor? How could you teach classes? Like, you just need to know more than the people in the class one day before they know it. And then the other piece of it is they are very, the culture is different. The first time talking to VAs and hiring them, they were saying, yes, sir, no, sir. It was a bit of a culture shock, but then talking to them more, they were like, it's very formal over here. This is how we approach people. And so it was interesting to see that cultural change. But I found very quickly that self-doubt went away, because you start talking to them and then you start having a relationship, and then you realize, oh, we are in this together. It's not me and then my VA working under me, and they are always looking up to me. As they take over those tasks, they're going to be on your team working with you. Just like if you had a job before, you're helping that boss out. You might have ideas. You become friends with them, go out to eat, enjoy that stuff. You won't do that with a virtual assistant, but you'll spend a lot more time with them on calls and talking to them, and it's enjoyable. So the next fear is the fear of the VA messing something up that cannot be fixed. Has that ever happened to you? And what would you say to somebody that's frazzled, that has that fear of a business ending problem after hiring a VA?
Well, I can't think of anything you'd give a VA at the beginning that would end your business if they messed up. It's a trust thing. Just like if getting to know you as a friend, I'm probably not going to immediately jump to, hey, nice to meet you, Stephen. Let's go on vacation together. It's a process, it's a process of learning and growing and trusting that person. And so as you get to know them, you trust them more and more, and you give them more and more responsibility. Just any relationship like that, any job situation like that, when you first get hired on, they're probably going to incrementally increase your responsibilities and the things that they trust you with. And so it's the same way with the VA. So at the very beginning, you probably aren't going to be giving them things that, if they did screw it up, is going to end your business. But I don't even know what that would be. Never heard of a situation like that. I guess if you gave them access to, bank accounts and credit cards, and they just like racked up a credit card. But I've not heard of that happening. And I would not be, you're not going to be giving them your credit card on day one. But VA that has my credit card, I've known him since 2013, and I've met him in person, and I trust him. What's the worst he could do? He could buy something on my credit card that, oh man, that cost me $5,000. Ouch. But that's not a business ending thing. I can't think of anything that's a business ending thing that a VA would have control over.
Yeah, I guess I'll explain my situation a little bit more. We were working with VAs for probably 3 years up to that point. We started a new branch of what we were doing, completely outsourcing some of the graphics that we were doing. Then we were offering that to other clients that we were talking to. Yeah. So it wasn't a business ending, but it would have hurt that business, because it was the orders come in, immediately go to a VA, then that VA sorts them out and hands them to other VAs that do the work, and then they send them to the customer. It's almost like we completely removed ourselves from that line. Yeah. So that's what our fear was if we're going to have to train them as this goes on. And we're going to have to, on the onboarding process, really let these people know, like, this is a new system for us. We're trying to create this, but it was.
Well, at the beginning, I'm sure you're looking at the graffics that are coming through. You just got to have a system and a process in place. So like, ooh, good. And after 500, like, these are really good. You just trust the person to take care of it. So yeah, you definitely don't give them, here's the keys to my whole business.
Yeah, especially not day one.
And here's everything. My wife and I are going to go to Tahiti. You run the business. No. You just, you increment. Here's a task. You did that well. Great. Here's another task. Well, you did that well. You do 5 tasks. You did those really well. Here's more. And you just give them more incrementally. And at some point you just relinquish responsibility and get more and more off your plate because they've proven themselves. So,
yeah, I guess it's a cautionary tale of, from, if you're in that frazzled state and you do want to move to that unfrazzled state, you can't just get married on the first date. Right. Like Ryan said, you can't just give them the keys of the kingdom and leave. It's still your business. Absolutely. So it is. I think that question is when do I ask this question? If you're thinking about that in the very beginning, I believe what Ryan said, it nailed it. If you're thinking about that later on, you might have a little bit of fear of that, but you've had trust built up with these people. Yeah. And it's the same time you add anything to your business is going to be some growing pains
for sure.
That. Yeah. The next fear that I think is a big one for everybody is cost.
Yeah.
My fear when I was getting started is I don't know if I'm going to get my money's worth. Mm-hmm. How do I avoid paying too much for whatever job I might be looking for?
Number one, what's it costing you to do that job? What's your hourly rate? And you could, as a business owner, you should know that number approximately. It changes, and it may vary. It's not like you're working in a regular hourly job where, I make $15 an hour. But you should know approximately, you just take, what am I making in a week, in a month? How many hours am I working? That's your hourly rate. And you're probably that's probably too much for a lot of these jobs. Would you, if you were trying to get, Stephen, you're into real estate, and let's say your hourly rate in your business is $200 an hour, I would imagine that you could find somebody to paint your house for less than $200 an hour. And so it's just a financial decision. It's like, do I do it or do I hire this out? And so that's number one is, most jobs, especially ones that you're not probably like, lower ends of your business, things that have to be done could be hired out to somebody for cheaper. And then next one is just, you can start the VAs out slowly. You don't have to go immediately to marriage. You don't have to immediately go to a full-time thing. You can say, let's test this out. Let's have you be hourly for a while. Let's do a trial period for 30 days. And pretty quickly, you're going to see, wow, this feels so good to have that task off of my plate that I can now focus on these other things that I really enjoy. Your business is going to increase because you're not spending time on those jobs that you are just not good at and you don't like. And you get those off your plate. Yes, it's going to cost you in money, but you're making that up because now you're not having to spend your precious time, because your time is worth way more than that virtual assistant's time. So just get it off your plate. Get it off now.
This might be a setup. Do you have a resource for helping people figure out how to get their time back?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So that's something that, Stephen and I are putting together. It's called wingmanvas.com. We want to help you do this because I've been around business owners for years now. And I see where, most people are doing too much in their business, even me included. It's a process, guys. It's not like immediately you're going to go from, hey, I'm doing my business and working, doing everything, to, whoa, now I'm suddenly in my zone of genius, in my desire zone, only working on things that I enjoy. It's a process. You're going to offload tasks here and there until you get closer and closer and closer to where you're working on those things that are going to move the needle most in your business. So yes, we have a team of people that will gladly help you and come alongside you and help you decide what's the best path forward.
Okay. So the next fear that I have as a frazzled entrepreneur looking to outsource and hire a VA is the security concern. Yeah. How do I get comfortable enough to share my business personal information with someone that's overseas that I've never met? How can I trust them with passwords and other sensitive business information?
Yeah, well, it kind of goes along with what we talked about earlier. You give them incrementally more responsibility, more trust. So maybe day one, you don't give them those precious passwords. But even later on, there's a tool called LastPass that makes it so they can't even see your password. So you could give them access to anything you want to give them access to, but they will have their own unique login to that LastPass makes possible. And at any time you could cut them off from access to whatever that is. So yeah, LastPass is an awesome tool that'll make your password is unique to you. They'll never know that, and they'll have their own password to those sites.
Other options to that too, where a friend of ours showed us how to do the virtual desktop. So they actually log into your computer.
Yep.
And then you can block access to certain things on your computer so that it's almost like they're sitting at your desk working,
right?
And you can secure your own setup and then they remote in. But there's software and other things to do. I think that was a huge concern of mine, because I think even going from solo entrepreneur, and I feel like I have to be in control of everything. I'm so nervous to anything letting out. As soon as you kind of release some of that and trust another person in business, I think that is a huge growth step. At least it was for me.
For sure.
And being able to trust one person, you can trust more people, and then it gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah, and even most programs, like if you're an Amazon seller, for example, you could give a VA access to certain parts of your account. And other software is the same way. You could say you can block certain, like they can't see your, like in my Kartra, which is my whole business runs on Kartra, I can give a VA access just to the email part of it, or to the page creation part of it, and they can't see my account, they can't see my credit card. And so that's what I do.
Yeah, the YouTube, I enjoy that for the same reason. You can make people managers, and then you can have steps for each one of those. So you can give them, it's not like they have to get access to everything. You can limit them on a selection basis, where, like you said, the emails, they get this, you can choose exactly what they get access to and what they don't. And sometimes even the level of access they get with each one of those. So the next fear that I have is the quality of work. How can I get over the fear of having them do a job to an acceptable level of my own? And then how can a VA do the job as well as I can?
Well, they're probably not going to do the job as well as you can at the beginning. But you give them a test task. And even before you hire them, you want to give them a task that you kind of test them out. And it's a probationary period where you could even, I know a lot of people we're talking to, they've never hired a VA before. And so it's like, gosh, do I want to commit to this person? What if this doesn't work out? What if I have to fire them? Are they going to be, out on the streets begging for food? And so just set up the expectations at the beginning. Look, like VA, I'm new in my business. This is the first hire. I've never done this before. Let's do this for 30 days. And let's convene after 30 days. And is this working for you? Is this working for me? But again, you just give them tasks incrementally, and as they do them well, you give them another bigger, more important task. And yes, at the beginning, you're going to have to spend some time training them, and they are not going to be at your level, because you may have been doing this same task for years and you're very proficient. However, if it's something that anybody else could do with just a proper amount of training, then all of that training you're investing in them will reap hours and hours of time for you later that you could spend on other tasks. So don't expect them to come right in and know immediately everything you need to, or be as good at everything that you are. They won't be, but eventually they may even surpass you on certain tasks. They may find efficiencies in things. If they do it long enough and that's their only thing, they will very likely get better than you in that certain thing. Or maybe especially if you're hiring them to do something that you are not good at, they're going to be good. They're going to be better than you from day one. Like graphic design for me, pretty much any VA that does graphic design is going to be better than me from day one. And that's an easy thing for me to hire out, because I don't enjoy it and I'm not good at it.
If you are proficient in the thing, you might feel like someone will not be able to do it as good as you to start, but especially if you're only spending 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week, and then they end up spending 8 hours a week in time, I do think they will get better than you. But if it's in your drudgery zone and it's something that you're not good at and it just takes a long time, I think that is where, as soon as you hand it off, that person is almost day one
Right.
going to do it better than you. Ryan is not good at graphics. It takes him a long time to do it. As soon as he hands it off to a graphic designer, they're going to be able to do it much better than him.
Oh,
They
for
might
sure.
not do it exactly how he wants it to start. You will have to go back and forth,
Sure.
but the quality is going to be there. The
Absolutely.
expectation might not be there immediately. And I guess that leads me into my next fear is the communication, like the language barrier.
Yeah.
My fear in a VA will not be able to understand almost totally like what I'm saying. And I'm going to have to spend a lot of time communicating with them just to understand how we can communicate. How can I work with a person from another country? And two-parter, how are they going to be able to understand what I'm asking them to do specifically?
Yeah. Well, for us, the Philippines, that they all speak and understand English. They can speak it, they can understand it, they can write it. So that's not a concern. Now, it is for a lot of them, it's not for none of them, it's their first language, but they start learning it very early on. So that's really not a concern. I mean, that would be something at the beginning that if you're having them do a writing task or anything where they really need to know English really well, that may be a different level of somebody that's studied a little bit longer. But for all the stuff I'm having them do, their English, I mean, in most cases, I mean, a lot of them have worked for call centers. So they've talked to Americans over and over and over again. And their English is a lot of times better than a lot of Americans. So that's not really a concern, especially with the ones that we hire.
A lot of time when you hear call center, you think of India, and then it's like that whole trope of that's the voice that they use. But I don't hear that with the Filipino language because there isn't a heavy accent with it. And a lot of times if you were not on a Zoom call and you were talking to them, you would assume you're talking to an American. The only difference is, like I said, is if you're hiring them and employing them, it's a very formal way to speak, which is not common for us. But it was never I could not understand them communication barrier. It was just like, oh, this is different. Yes, sir. No, sir. It made me a little uncomfortable at the beginning because I was like, I'm already a little weary of hiring somebody. Now the communication is a little funny.
Right.
Like I don't feel like I'm that in charge because I'm barely holding this thing together. But I think you build up that relationship, and then the communication is, to me, language part of it is never a problem. So the next fear as a frazzled entrepreneur is the time zone difference.
Yeah.
My fear is, will I have to change my hours of work? Do I have to stay up late or get up early? Because we are talking about Filipino or just overseas VAs, and the time difference is normally a 12-hour difference.
Yeah, for us, it's 13 hours. I'm in Central Time. No, actually, for our VAs, I don't care when they work. I don't need to be in constant communication with them throughout the day. If you are in a position where you need them to make outbound phone calls or receive inbound phone calls, and you need them to work normal USA times, they will do that, and they're often very used to it. My VAs, it's crazy. I'll message them on Skype at 2 p.m. my time, and that's 4 a.m. their time. This happened yesterday, Stephen. I was messaging my VA, was on the phone with a guy on a Zoom call, and we needed an answer from my VA. And I said, we're probably not going to get an answer for a few hours. It's 4 a.m. for them. I got an answer right back. I don't know how they work that graveyard shift and their mind be fresh, but they say, a lot of them say that's when it's quieter on their home. Their kids are asleep. They can focus, and they work that graveyard shift and are happy to do it. And others prefer the 9 to 5, 9 to 6 time frame, and that would be off our late nights. So that's not a fear. Don't worry about that. You don't have to change your schedule. They will change their schedule for you if you need them to. But if you're giving them tasks that it doesn't really matter when they work, that's even better, because then they can be fresh and work when they're best able to, and when their mind is most focused. And what's really cool, especially if you give them a job, one day you'll wake up and it's already done. You wake up in the task because they did it while you were sleeping, which that's kind of cool.
That was my favorite part of having that graphic design business attached onto our core business, because it was almost like magic. The clients that we're working with, they have an idea, they're putting it all together throughout the day, then they send it out, and then they wake up to it already done. So it was a not purposely done that way, but it was very interesting to see that people really appreciated that they could work on their business during the day, have an idea, want to tell somebody else to here's what I want, here's what I'm looking for, hand it off, and then they wake up the next day and it's done, versus oh, now I have to explain this tomorrow and talk to somebody and push it back a day. It almost speeds up a lot of ideas.
It really kind of does. Yeah, time zone's different. It is like magic. I always enjoy. Right. You give them a job right before you go to bed and it's done when you wake up. It's pretty cool.
Especially like writing some emails or getting back to people. It was like when I had that assistant that was helping with the emails, that was always something that I really enjoyed, is I can in the evening go over all my emails. I know a lot of people do it in the morning, but I switched to doing the evening for that reason. I could just kind of go, okay, here's everything I want to say to these people. This is what I'm trying to do. Can you get back and reach out to all these people? And if they have any questions, get back with them. And then it would be done. And then I wake up to it being completed in the morning. And then I would receive more emails throughout the day. And it was like, oh, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
So the next fear that I would have as a frazzled entrepreneur is the fear of losing contact with the VA due to power outages, due to internet loss. Sure. What happens in a situation if my VA is unable to work or communicate with me?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that does happen. That's probably maybe the biggest downside of working with somebody in a country like the Philippines, is they do get hit with hurricanes, typhoons and stuff.
Tropical storms.
There are power outages just because where they live, they need to spread power out. So there'll be brownouts where for a few hours they'll have no internet. That does happen. It's not often. It's more often in the provinces, like outside of major cities like Manila. A lot of our VAs are in Manila. And so it happens a lot less there. But if you have a VA that is out in the country, as you would say, it happens more often. Now, it's not like every day, maybe once every couple of weeks, they'll lose power for a few hours. So it's not been a big deal. There has been times when they lose power for a couple of days and you're like, man, is my VA still alive? but that's rare. So that's not a concern. That's not a reason not to hire things out to them, but just be aware of it going in, that yes, there may be a time when you gave them a job and you don't hear from them for 2 days and you're like, uh-oh, did they just fall off the face of the earth? And you'll get a message, sorry, sir, we had a power. And what's weird is sometimes they can't even use their phone. So they can't even use the internet on their phones to respond to you. So yeah, just be aware of that going in and you won't be concerned.
The brownouts are a little harder because it's not announced, but if a storm is coming, that's where the communication comes back in. They always told us there's a possibility of losing power because this is coming. It might be quick, it might be a long time, but this is what's going on here. It's like they communicate very well to let you know if things are coming. Now, the brownout or a storm that kind of comes out of nowhere, it does happen, but we found it extremely rare. And like Ryan says, you build up a relationship with that person. You're not afraid that they quit on you. You are fearful that something has happened, because you do build up that relationship. It's almost like a cousin, whereas overseas, and then it's like, I haven't heard from this guy in a couple of days. It's more worry than like, oh, my business is falling apart. It's more of a personal relationship feeling of worry than anything business related.
That's true.
Next fear, and I guess this is maybe the wrong way to word it, but the fear of what type of VA to hire. My fear is hiring the wrong person for a job. How do I know what job title to look for when hiring? For an example, marketing is something that I'm constantly working on and growing my team on. If I'm hiring for quote unquote marketing, should I be looking for a marketing research, like niching down into marketing? Should I be looking for a graphic designer, a copywriter? How do you hire or look for titles of people to hire?
Yeah, just be specific in the job description. Be specific. I would look at other titles of other job posts to see what people are posting. I mean, if you work with a company like us, we handle it for you. You don't even have to think about it. We will, have like an onboarding type discovery call. What do you need, Stephen? How can we help you? And we'll find the person. We'll know what titles and we'll just know who to hand it off to. You don't have to think about that. If you decide to go at it on your own, then just be specific in the job description. And just know that if you are posting a job, you're going to get so many applications, and a lot of people will just apply even if they have no experience. So you're just going to have to go through those applications. You're going to have to weed through those. And so that's another fear that we see people have, is like process of hiring and interviewing seems daunting. It can be, especially if, that's another country, and how, do I have to get on a Zoom call? Do I get on a Skype call? And that's why going through a VA service makes a huge difference, because you just don't have to think about that stuff. You say, I need this, find me that person. It'll cut out hours and especially for somebody that's never done an interview before. What do I ask them? How do I test them? It's just can be a big, huge step from needing a VA to hiring a VA if you're trying to do it on your own. But if you are trying to do it on your own, just be specific. Be specific in the title and the job description.
Yeah, I guess this wraps up into the final fear of where to hire a VA. Yeah. The fear is not being able to find a VA or sure. hiring the wrong one, or taking too much time to get through the process to find the right person. I'm going to ask you, where do you go to find the VA? But
sure.
I think I want to touch on this just a little bit more, because I've done a lot of consulting the last 2-3 years, and it's interesting to me that I am talking to so many. This is kind of how the whole podcast started, was I'm helping people, I'm giving suggestions, we're talking strategy, we're doing quarterly strategies, and then just realizing like that these entrepreneurs that I'm talking to are extremely overworked. Like they love the ideas, but it's very hard for them to implement because they're trying to keep their business afloat and go in a new direction. And then I would tell them, hey, you should hire a VA. This is how you should do it. Here's some copy that you can use. Here's how you can do a job posting. You want to give them a test job before you really hire them on. And it was so daunting and overwhelming. That's why we've gone in this direction, where I love to help people. How can I continue to do consulting and then have a solution for the people that I'm consulting to be able to, the onboarding process so much easier. If you're worried, talk to this person, because this person will listen to what exactly you're trying to do, the strategy, the idea, and everything else. And they do that daily, onboard people to point them to the right VAs.
Right.
Then they hand that VA whatever specific information that you have, that you need a graphic designer, but he also needs to know how to do some copy and he needs a little bit of editing. They'll say, okay, this is the perfect person for you because this person has this training. They've done this in their past. They've worked for these 3 other companies. They'll be a really good fit for you. They match you. It's almost like a matchmaker.
Yes.
I need somebody to be on sales. They need to be on the phone. Good. We have somebody that's been in telecommunications. They've worked in places where they have to answer the phone and talk to businesses and close deals. This is the perfect person for you. That is a huge relief for a lot of people. And I think this is why we're excited for this new venture that we're going on. But to go back to that question, where would I go to hire a VA? Like specifically some sites that I know you can talk to, and then what are the differences between just going out on your own and doing a business like ours that has an onboarding process?
So some sites that when we've used in the past, or we even for our legendary VA program, when we're hiring Amazon VAs, we'll go on to sites like onlinejobs.ph. We'll go into Now I have a whole team of VAs in the Philippines that look for other VAs to bring on in our training process. This is specifically for the Amazon stuff. They'll go into Facebook groups in the Philippines and find people. They'll post jobs ads. We have a Facebook page for our VA service. We'll post ads. If I'm a business owner looking for somebody to do graphic design or social media or any other like non-Amazon type task, I go on a site like Upwork, onlinejobs.ph. Those are the big ones that I've seen. Ask a friend. A lot of times, if you have a friend that has a VA, they may know somebody that's willing to work, because this is what's really cool about this is you may think of them as such an asset to your business, and they are. However, you're doing them it's a huge win-win, because they're able to work from home and they don't have to fight. I don't know if listeners know this, but especially if your VA is in the Manila area, traffic is horrendous. And so if they have a call center job, they could be spending, my VA who used to work at a call center was spending 2 to 3 hours each way in traffic. And it was not even that far from his house. So it's 4 to 6 hours a day in the car to go to a job that pays less than he's now making and being able to be home with his family. So that's huge. So ask a friend, because whenever VAs see a friend doing that, they're like, I want a job like yours. I don't want to have to fight traffic. And so they know other people. Going through a site like Upwork or onlinejobs.ph, they're great sites. You're doing it yourself. You're doing the interview process. You're posting the job description. You're you're getting on Zoom calls and talking to them face to face, asking them questions. And then with a site like Wingman VAs that we have, we'll do that for you. We'll get on the discovery call. What are your needs? And we'll match you up with the right VA. And the cool thing is like, if it doesn't work with that VA, we'll get you another one. And there's no pressure, because it's like, you don't have to go through the interview process. And if it doesn't work out, you have a person that's not the VA to go to and say, hey, this is not working out for whatever reason. I need a new VA. Or there's just not a contract. It's not like you are like, if I hired you, Stephen, in my business, I would feel like, oh man, now I owe this guy, he's all excited. He got a new job. He's telling his family he got a new job. And if I had to come back to you in 2 months later, it's going to be,
this isn't working out.
And I'm sorry, I got to tell you something. It's just not working out. I'm going to have to let you go. With this service, it's not like that. There's no commitment. You can cancel anytime, and it just takes the pressure off of a new business owner, or especially if this is your first hire. There's no pressure. Like, if this does not work out, I can back out and go back to what I was doing. I don't think you should. You should find another VA or do something to outsource those tasks, but it just takes that pressure off.
Yeah, I guess this is why I'm very excited to partner up with you, because we had large teams of VAs, and then during the pandemic, I did have to let all of them go, and it was very heart-wrenching, where it's like that we've built up these relationships. There is no person that I can go to say, hey, this isn't working out, can you find them other jobs? It's just, hey, you were working here, now you're not working here. I don't have anyone else to direct you to, because everybody's kind of consolidating their business. That there are opportunities in the e-com space. If you're interested in that, that's not really what we were doing, and it's maybe not your skills, but here's a possibility over here. It was extremely difficult. I would have loved to be able to work with someone that I can go to and say, hey, this is what's going on in my business. Here's what I have to do. But I don't want to just have all these people left out, not figuring out what to do. And even the traffic situation, some of the VAs that lived out in the country, it's not like here where most people have a car. You go to your neighbor if you didn't have a car. Like, you're in the country, it's very difficult to get into the city, to even wait on the 3-hour traffic to then go get a job. So most of them work for the farms. They went to school, they have skills, but they don't have the opportunities. It was affording them those opportunities. That was soul crushing. I'm like tearing up now, even trying to think of that. It was soul crushing at the time. And I now hearing you say that, I would have loved to have worked with a company that hires those people, because then I wouldn't have felt so horrible that, like, this person that is getting this opportunity now they're back on their own. They are on the other side. You as a business owner, you feel obligated to put out job postings and do, like, imagine on the other side where you feel like, well, is that truly a skill that I have? I have to find that job posting. Where should I be looking? Should I be signing up with a company like Online Jobs PH? Should I be on Facebook groups? It's daunting on both sides. And I think this is what I'm excited to kind of step in the middle and moderate some of this and just make it easy for both sides. Come work for us. We have jobs for you. You'll be on a team, or you'll be working directly with a entrepreneur that has a vision, has a dream. And this is the things that we're just trying to match those skills up like a matchmaker.
That's what's cool. I talk to so many business owners that need this. That know they need to hire out, but that process of finding, hiring, training that right person just seems like such a huge hurdle that they just, gosh, I know I need to hire somebody, but that's I'm so focused on my business that to take time away, it seems like a full-time job to hire somebody, and then they just don't do it, and they continue to suffer and doing those things that they know they shouldn't be doing.
All right, I'm gonna try to put this on you. How do we wrap this up, and where do we want these people to go, and how can we help them moving forward?
Yes, so go to wingmanvas.com. We have a free download that answers questions about outsourcing. It has a little almost like a workbook feel to it, where we have some of the things that we want you to write down the tasks that you are not good at and don't enjoy, and then the other zones that we talked about in the last episode. But writing those tasks down will just help you get focused on what am I doing in my business, and then thinking, okay, which ones do I want to hire out first? And in my opinion, it should be the things that you're not good at and you don't enjoy. Get those off your plate, because that'll immediately give you just a sense of mental relief. Like, wow, oh my gosh, I don't have to do that job anymore, that thing that I hate that I'm not good at. Answer questions about what VAs are, and then goes over some of these fears we talked about. And that's just at wingmanvas.com.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week.